So it's been a few days since the leak about the Age of Sigmar reboot for Warhammer Fantasy. Now, those of you who watched my video probably are not into Warhammer, but I am, and some of you are. And unlike other people covering this, I like it. I fucking think Age of Sigmar is bad for the lore, good for the gaming tabletop. Now, I'll go over why, and those of you who are new to the Warhammer series, who are just watching for Mormon's content or other content, I will tell you about the lore of Warhammer and stuff in this video. I'll talk about the reboot. I might make more videos. So, Warhammer Fantasy is a tabletop game that expanded into lore. It originated from Games Workshop back in the 80s. Now, I totally was not born in the 80s. I'm very young. But back then, there were some pretty big tabletop games, just as Games Workshop. Then you have Dungeons and Dragons, and you have BattleTech, otherwise known as Mech Warriors. I'm a bigger fan of BattleTech, and I love Warhammer Fantasy compared to 40K. 40K, in my opinion, is a worse version of fantasy. I like the fantasy setting more. Don't kill me. Now, many people who are into Warhammer 40K do not know this because they don't care about the lore. That's fine. However, Warhammer Fantasy started first in the early 80s. And Warhammer 40K is a spin-off. That's why it's called Warhammer, okay? In a sci-fi setting. 40,000 compared to Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Now, I'll go over the basic gist of it. There was an old setting, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, compared to the Age of Sigmar. What happened is, after 3 decades, they killed it. They killed off the universe, ruined all the fucking characters, bad piss poor writing. I can make an entire rant video on the end times lore, which I might make if this video is popular. But they killed off the setting, and they rebooted it into Age of Sigmar, which is what is currently now done. And Age of Sigmar is universally panned. However, it's sold very well. It's the second best-selling tabletop game. I cannot stress that enough. However, they fucked up with the lore, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. This is why they're doing this whole reboot. So, instead of having a continent, a world, a set setting, like in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Like, there's a map of Warhammer Fantasy. Like, there are continents copied from Earth. There's, like, North America, South America. North America is filled with Dark Elves. South America is full of Lizard people. And then we have the Desert Tomb Kings, which are a great faction. Then we have the Europe. And then we have Cathay, which is China. And undeveloped regions like Koresh and Ind and Nippon, which are Japan, India, etc. So, rather than have that, they were like, this restricts our writing. They were like, this is so cancer. People complain whenever we write new lore, story, and battles. How can we fit more into the map? I love that. I love concept of a map in my fiction, okay? But they'll encounter Game of Thrones last season scenarios, where how the fuck did these two guys travel all the way across of Westeros? Okay? All the way over Westeros in 3 weeks. Did they fucking sprint like Usain Bolt to fight the Ice King? Like, that is the scenario they tried to have trouble with. Rather than do that, they do this fucking garbage thing in the new lore. By the way, all the main characters, like the really important ones like Sigmar, which is the Emperor of Mankind, basically, in this setting, except for nicer. He's a god now, and all the good characters, popular characters, became like gods in Age of Sigmar. Some characters return. But rather than have one concrete world, they split it into 8 fucking realms. 8 fucking realms with some of the worst fucking plot reasons ever. Rather than having clearly defined map, they're just fucking realms which are connected by portals. So they can write. So it's good from a tabletop war gaming perspective because it opens up more fan fiction. More, fan fiction plot. Like, you can imagine my army is a bunch of penguins in high heels. And where they're located? In the realm of Aqua. 3 trillion miles away from the portal. You know why you can do that? Because the realms are described as really big. We don't know how big they are. They're not infinitely big. They even wrote like, okay, it's not infinitely big. It's just really big. Each of these 8 fucking realms are really big. How big are they? I don't know. There's no real map. There's no real setting. There's no edge of the border. There's nothing. It's fucking garbage. And only gives started on the fucking, fantasy space marines with the fucking Sigmar warriors, Stormcast. Yeah, awful. I hate it. It should die. So, you can infinite fanfiction, great for wargaming. This is very good from a fanfiction side. I don't like that personally. I like set, concrete canon lore. That's what I'm into. That's why into a set timeline. That's what I love. And this 8 fucking realm gimmick, it's very confusing because unlike other, works of fiction which has realms, they don't have 8. It's too much for the average consumer, okay? And they all have hard to pronounce names that scares off newcomers, which is why I think this leak is plausible. So, what is the leak? What is the reboot? So, a leaker named Bull, Boole, leaked. He's a very credible leaker. And he leaked that they're doing a whole reboot of the lore. Not like a real reboot. They're just changing the lore a little bit. The main points is that Sigmar dies. And all the realms combine into one planet again. And that's the very credible portion of the leak. Now, what happened is, probably Games Workshop caught him. So he leaked a bunch of other stuff, such as army books and whatnot. However, these might be red herrings. Because what companies usually do is they give, bits and pieces of information to catch the leaker. And he was probably caught. He or she was probably caught. So, why do I think this leak is plausible now that it's been a few days since the leak and everyone's discussed it to death, besides who will watch my videos, is because 3 people confirmed it. 3 other leakers or YouTubers. Honest Wargamer, Valrek, etc. Also heard it from confirmed leakers from Game Workshops. Something similar, but not 100%. Some of it matches. The only thing that matches is their Sigmar dies and the planet is reboot. I'm not going to talk about the last world because I don't believe that. If the last world leak is true, the full leak is that they're rebooting the plot and planet and they're calling it, instead of Age of Sigmar, Warhammer The Last World. Okay? That, I don't believe that because that title is so fucking dog shit. Okay? Why would they do that? The Last World? That is such a terrible brand name. Okay? Why I believe the leak is true, besides all the people, is because he probably dropped rumors that he's probably a rules writer for the Warhammer 40k Codex writer, and that's probably how they found him, because only one person is in charge of writing each codex. It's just fucking nerd stuff here. Most of you guys don't care. Some guys care a lot. I'll make another video about that. So Adepticon, which is a Warhammer convention, is probably going to reveal more. I just love it, dude. One planet with a set map. One planet, set map. I want the map. I don't care about the lore. Okay, other things I hate about the Age of Sigmar as a Warhammer Fantasy fan is the fucking new names. Now, there are good ways to do names. There are good ways to do names of existing species, such as what Warhammer 40k did. From the elves, or the Eldar, and the Dark Eldar into the Eldari and the Drukhari. That flows right off the top of your tongue. What did Age of Sigmar do to the dwarves or the Dawi? Dwarden. what the fucking they do to the ogres? You know the ogres? This, look at this. Awful. I'm an angry young man yelling into the cloud. No one cares about this shit. This is such a niche fucking hobby, liking the lore of Warhammer Fantasy, which is a fraction of the size of Warhammer 40k. Now, those of you guys who like Warhammer 40k, imagine if they rename... But I actually did. Never mind. This is a bad example. Did Space Marines into Primaris Marines. You guys hate that, right? You guys hate that. Space Marines. The reason why I did that is because of a lawsuit. I could go over that later. Yeah, that's basically the same thing. Imagine if they rename corn. Because the fucking corn industry has a nice patent on corn and anything corn related. So they have to rename him like Jeff. Jeff, the chaos god of violence. And not even Jeff. Okay, it's gonna be harder to pronounce, which is what Jordan and whatever the fucking ogres are called right now for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I hate that. I hate it. Just call them elves and dwarves. I don't care if it's not copyrightable or trademarkable. I don't care. Just give me my good dwarves and elves, okay? So I can hate them and pronounce them. Not Duarnan, not fucking Ogogs or Augurs or whatever you want me to pronounce them, okay? At least make them a good name. Drukari, Aldari, easy to pronounce. Roll us off the tongue, really good names. What the fuck they were doing with the dwarves? What the fuck they're doing with the dwarves and the vampires and all that? What the fuck they're doing with these guys? Don't do that. Rework that too. And the orcs, don't get me started on orcs. The orcs. I understand that all you Tolkien fans is from Uruk. I'm also a fucking nerd, you fucking piece of shit. Okay? I'm also a nerd. I know this stuff. I read the Halo books, okay? I love Eric Nyland. That's how deep I read the old Star Wars universe. Jana Solo? Yeah. Darth Cadus, one of the best Sith storylines. Yeah. Darth Bane trilogy, that's more mainstream nowadays. But Cadus is less mainstream. Most of you guys don't know who the fuck that is. What about Cade Skywalker? Any of you guys know who Cade Skywalker? You guys know about Dark Talon, the Gunnerbait. Cade Skywalker? I'm a fucking nerd just like the rest of you. And what about the old fucking Spider-Man storylines that I know about? Hemogoblin, all those villains, Hemogoblin, Dog Welder. I know all those stories, all those niche stories. Irredeemable. You think about the boys? I was reading the boys before they made a storyline, okay? Irredeemable was good too. They're making I bet you that. Yeah, if you want more Warhammer or other nerd lore videos, just watch this video. Tell me to make more. But I like talking about this stuff. I am just very excited. I'm brimming at the chance to have a concrete world setting, not an infinite dimension. Oh no, we're in the Stanley Parable. We're in the corridor dimension. It's not an infinite corridor. It's just very long. And your favorite guy can appear in this corridor anytime you want. Oh, fucking Luke Skywalker? How did Luke Skywalker get from Yavin to fucking Hoth in 2 hours? Portals. And the entire Star Wars universe doesn't have spaceships. There's no real travel time. All they took is portals from one planet to another. And they defend these portal worlds. And each planet is very big. Really big. Each planet is really big. How big is it? I don't know. Nar Shaddaa is described as a very small planet of fucking, back alley dealings and shit. How big is it? Very small, but you'll never know exactly how big it is. And you get there through a fucking portal. We don't need a fucking Rick and Morty portal in every fiction. Just have us have travel time. That's why I hate fast travel. Fast travel is dog shit. It makes every world smaller. If you're a game developer and fast travel, no, make it monotonous. Give me that travel time, okay? Let me walk 5 hours to turn in this quest. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want set distances, locations where they should be. Characters. Oh, this character's unlikely to meet up with this guy. And that gives us that fucking bullshit of portals. These fucking bullshit of portals. It's like Star Trek doesn't even make sense. I hate Star Trek. Star Trek is fucking awful. But teleporting is awful. Without a set range distance. Why are they even walking? Just fucking teleport them everywhere. Teleporting breaks most fantasy settings for me. And that is all for this video.